Alright, students. Independent and dependent variables. First thing we need to remember is which variable is dependent, which variable is independent. So y is equal to 2x plus 1. In this particular equation, it's very easy to tell which one's independent, which one's dependent, because it's a name. X is your independent variable. Y is your dependent variable. This is always true, always, for algebra 1. And this is how it is. You have to know x first. Once you know x, y can be gathered from x. You can go backwards, but it's almost always easier to drop that x in. And that's why it's an independent variable. Y depends on what x is. You want to know what x is first. Some examples that you might see in word problems, casual, the plumber problem. If the cost of the plumber is equal to $45 per hour plus $75 as a arrival fee or what have you, it asks you, which is the independent quantity. Well, in this case, hours is independent. This is because it's in the x position. If I was to write this as an xy equation, you'd have y equals 45x plus 75. That's how you would write it. You want y by itself, and it pairs up with that same independent notion. And if you think about it, your cost, the plumber is going to say, well, I can't tell you my cost yet. I don't know how long I'm going to work. The cost will depend on how many hours I work here. Another example, if you were buying a pizza, the cost of your pizza is going to be dependent on how many toppings you choose to put on that pizza. Let's make toppings capital. So the pizza costs $6, but it's also 75 cents per topping. The question might be, what's the dependent quantity here? Well, the cost is dependent, and again, the cost depends on how many toppings you buy. If I were to write this out in a regular equation, y equals 0.75x plus 6. Cost is dependent on how many toppings you buy. You get to choose the number of toppings. It's independent of the cost. You choose the toppings first. So whatever the equation is, take it, write the equation out. If it's a word problem, they don't give you an equation. Create one, and then find out which variable would I make x here. Which variable would I make y here? What would make sense? What would I have to know first? You got to know how many toppings you're going to buy before I can tell you how much the pizza is going to cost. If you want to know how many miles you're about to drive, how many hours you're going to drive, I can tell you how many miles you're going to go. That kind of stuff. Whatever you know first, whatever you need to know first, rather, that's the independent quantity. And whatever you know after that is your dependent quantity. But sometimes that's a little tricky because you can always figure out one from the other. The best way to tell is to take it, write it down into an equation that makes sense, and then identify which variable would have been your x, which variable would have been your y. And that is the single best way to determine independent and dependent variables.